There are retro video games that nobody talks about. They're bad, good, or there's another reason why nobody talks about it and nobody adds it to their top 10 bad or good list. And in this video I'm gonna take a look at some of them. Welcome to the channel, my name is Dexter and I hope that you want to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell button so you get notifications when I upload a new video. In this video we're gonna talk about bad games, good games, but at least games that nobody talks about. And I see a lot of YouTube movies about games, but these games that I have in this video for you, I never saw on a video. So let's give them some attention and give them their rightful place as where they belong. In the good, the bad, or not the ugly, but the mediocre categories. I dug into my Mega Drive collection searching for games that nobody talks about, and one of the first games that stood out was Yogi Bear for the Mega Drive. Yogi Bear is a game based on a cartoon from the 70s, 80s, I don't know for sure. I picked this game up after market because I am pretty much into cartoons and I thought, well, there has to be a fun game, another fun game based on a cartoon, but is it?
This is a very colorful platformer with exceedingly good graphics. Regretfully, they opted for the CGI graphics instead of hand-drawn. That would make sense for Toy Story, for example, which is a CGI movie, but not for a hand-drawn cartoon. So it takes a bit away from the fun cartoony platformer that this could have been. And I have to say, the animations are surprisingly good for a 16-bit platformer. I remember the game as being super bad, but when I replayed it, I have to adjust my opinion a bit. The main game mechanic is jumping with A instead of C, and you can't change that, and yeah, that's it. It's a bit flat in that regard. The gameplay elements could be more expanded to make it more interesting. You can go multiple directions, but that's about it and the only depth you're gonna get in the game. The music is not bad, but not extraordinary by any means. If you like it, there is a version of the game for the SNES with an improved soundtrack. You can jump on picnic baskets which are bouncy and disappear in thin air. If you get hit, wow, you jump way too far back. You can chase the piece of pie that you lost by getting hit to refill your energy. The game has an average difficulty level. It's not like Sonic that you can run through the first level of the game in your first play of the game. Most deaths you'll die are a bit cheap, because of bottomless pits and carefully placed enemies after it. So if you are getting hit, you bounce so far back that you fall in that bottomless pit. I think it's pretty clear why nobody talks about it, and I won't say it's bad, but it's not particularly good either outside of the graphics and the animations. Well, judge for yourself.
The next game I have a little bit of a hate relationship with. I remember calling the Sega hotline because I had saved up some money and I wanted to buy a new game after I bought Sonic. So my second game for the Mega Drive was Taz Mania. And Taz Mania is also based on a cartoon and I really like the cartoon. It's a really funny cartoon. But yeah, they said on the hotline, well, it plays like the cartoon. Well, it's nothing like the cartoon.
Where do I start? I replayed the game for this episode. I literally didn't play the game for 25 years. It's a PAL game that suffers from the same 50-60 Hz problem as Sonic does. It runs way quicker on 60 Hz systems. You are the Tasmanian Devil in search for a big egg you can feed your family with. You can jump, breathe fire if you ate chili peppers, spin and jump on enemies' heads and growl like a Tasmanian Devil. What I never liked about the game is the music. It's weird. Can you even call it music? The sound effects are like experiencing hallucinations when you're ill. This is stuff that bad dreams are made of. The gameplay is weird and makes no sense. What is that stone head in the sand, and what noise does it make? Jumping on these water fountains is a leap of faith. One wrong jump and you're dead. You have to get the rhythm, but it's weird. Those things are slippery. I don't know what it is. And jump against the side of these fountains gets you hit also. Also jumping on platforms here is a total leap of faith. And the last jump, you jump on a platform with bombs you automatically pick up without pressing a button, so instant hit for no reason. That's just cheap, that's just plain cheap. And what is it about platforms you can't jump on when you clearly jump the right height to reach them? That's just bad game design one-on-one. One positive thing I have to mention, the graphics are good, not superb but good. The animations are great and there is even some humor in the game. But the rest is bad, plain bad. I think the idea behind the game was good, but the execution was terrible. And I hoped after 25 years that I last played it, that I could adjust my opinion a bit about the game. I hope that with more adult eyes I could appreciate what they've done here. But no, I still can't. It's still a turd and its rightful place in history is indeed no one should ever talk about it again.
The next game, I spent hours and hours and hours and weekends in this game, but on the PC. And I know there was a Mega Drive version of. I'm talking about Theme Park. Theme Park is a simulation game and it was unique because it was one of the first game of its kind. There were many follow-ups made of Theme Park. The goal of the game is simple: build your own theme park.
There were lots of ports of Theme Park. The 3DO, Amiga, Amiga CD32, DOS, Jaguar, Macintosh, Nintendo DS, PlayStation 3, PSP, PS Vita, Sega CD, Mega Drive, Sega Saturn, SNES and Windows. The game was developed by Bullfrog and released in 1994 by EA. You have to employ staff, do staff negotiations, design the layout of the park, buy rights, do research and development. But the most fun part was to design your own roller coaster, but you have to advance in the game for that. I think the game was purely popular because of that. The controls suck in this game, with no consistency at all. The game could have taken a massive advantage of the Sega mouse, but it didn't. I couldn't think of a type of a game on the Mega Drive that is more suited for a mouse than this. And the music, it's not terrible. After you heard Taz Mania, it's like an angel pissing in your ears, but it's the same tune over and over and over again. Luckily, you can switch it off in the main screen. 3D renders from the 90s look rather ridiculous nowadays. But back in the days, that was all we had and it looked amazing. It was far better than those ugly hand-drawn graphics. Yuck! In this game we are presented with those beautiful pixel art renders in too few colors. Nowadays we see a total shift in the other direction. It does have more charm, those hand-drawn graphics, more than those ugly mechanical perfect digital pictures. And by presenting these renders we could ride the rides. At least that is what I thought when I first saw the cover art. And finally in later games we could But not in this one. Roller Coaster Tycoon is a follow-up that came much later and was far better in my opinion. But by now there are so many theme park-like games that I've lost track. We are so spoiled nowadays. I think the reason why nobody talks about it is because of the many ports that were out there, and to be honest, it isn't the best port of the game. One hooray for the sucky controls.
A couple of months ago I bought this game, Risky Wood from Electronic Arts. When you look at the game, you think, well, it's an RPG, but it's not, it's a platformer game. This is EA in their good days. I saw this game lying around in a store that sold retro video games, and it caught my eye because I don't know the game. I've never heard of the game. I've never seen it in a magazine or seen screenshots of the game. So it immediately caught my attention. Regretfully, when I got home, I looked at the manual, and as you see, I thought this was a design thing, but when I took it out of the case, I saw it was a stain. Regretfully, otherwise I wouldn't have picked it up. But let's take a look at the game itself.
Let's start with the music. It's okay, not good, but not spectacular either. The game is a bit weird in a couple of regards, and in ways that could have been easily fixed. The game has power-ups but also power-downs. One of the best power-ups you can get is time, because time is sacred in this game. You are on a schedule, too late is starting over the level. The apple is a power-down. You go to sleep and lose time. Sometimes, not always. The 3 triangles set you back in the level, which is bad because you lose time. The sprites are big and the controls feel clunky. Your jump is low and I still underestimate it every time I play it. It has a pretty interesting upgradable weapon system. If you have the knife, you can upgrade the knife. If you grab another one, each time it does more damage to your enemies, and if you have the boomerang, you can upgrade the boomerang, etc. In each level you have to find the monks. There are good monks and bad monks. You don't know which one is which. And you lose energy when you free a bad monk. That's a bit annoying. Memorization is the key here. The physics and collision detection are a bit weird also. A lot of times you have to jump over a gap. While jumping you encounter an enemy and you die because you bounce back. And those enemies keep respawning endlessly at random positions. So every jump over a gap is a leap of faith. Throwing a shit ton of knives before you jump seems to be the key here. You can grab a coin by pressing down, so you're pressing down thousands of times during playing the game. It would be more pleasant if you can pick it up automatically like Sonic or Mario. If you have 35 coins you get a silver armor, 70 a gold. This means when you get hit you don't lose much of your life bar. Collecting coins and getting the armor is convenient if you want to advance in the game. Upgraded weapons and armor is good for boss fights. Those are endless in this game. Reading the instruction manual is necessary to understand all the power-ups and downs. Here's one I forgot to mention, the skull, which I already forgot what it does. I think it's good, but I'm not sure. What I hate about the game is that in each level there are multiple passages you can pass by finding the wheel thingy. Throw it at the gate with the bird and recall the rhythm of the 4 directions to advance. Every level adds 1 extra direction in the sequence. It starts with 3 in level 1, 4 at level 2, 5 in level 3, etc. So by the time you come to level 7, and remember you're on a tight schedule here, this is a really long sequence to recall. The game isn't bad per se. The different gameplay elements make it more interesting, but it could have been a lot better with a few minor tweaks. When I bought the game I really stuck my teeth in it, but I rage quit because I got so frustrated with the time limits and remembering those endless rhythms to get past the gates that I don't want to play it anymore. Maybe that's the reason why nobody talks about it?
The next game is a game with little creatures resembling Fraggles, and to be honest, I always thought they were Fraggles, but apparently they are Lemmings. I remember playing this game in the store, in the toy store, and well, it couldn't really grab me the first level, and I had to figure out what all the Lemmings had to do. And as a kid, I was more into the action games, and it needed to be fast and it needed to be Sonic, because otherwise it wasn't good. But later, now as an adult, I really can appreciate these kinds of games. I have more patience now. And I for this video, I played the game, and I played it for hours and hours and hours and hours, and I'm really addicted to the game right now. Till 3, 4 in the morning. Yeah, it really it gives you a rush when you solve a puzzle.
Wow, this is a fun puzzle game. Gameplay-wise, it's a pretty good game. But of course there are some things that they really easily could have improved on. First of all, it's not possible to speed up time after you solve the puzzle. You can increase the amount of lemmings, but you have to wait 30 to 60 seconds while they walk through the solved puzzle. Yeah, and time is money, guys. And second, the positioning of the cursor is a drag. It doesn't really translate well to a controller. Again, the Sega mouse, yeah I know, released for the system would be ideal, but the game doesn't support it. It's a shame. Third of all, selecting a lemming can be a pain in the butt, especially when there are so many on the screen. You are guessing which one you select, and then it turns out that that was the one walking in the opposite direction, so it builds a bridge the wrong way. Later in the game you have only a limited amount of tasks you can appoint to a lemming, so selecting the wrong one is an instant unsolved puzzle. Which they could improve, which is my next point, by pausing and selecting a lemming. But that's not possible. You can move the cursor and select an action, but not lemmings. That would have made the game so much more enjoyable. They show you a percentage of lemmings that are saved and even how many there are on the screen, which is totally unnecessary, but not the target, so how many do you need to save in order to solve the puzzle? That could have easily been fixed. Instead of the number of lemmings on the screen, show the amount of lemmings you need in order to complete the level. And yeah, then again the weird controls. Nowhere in the game is mentioned what button to press to do stuff. You have to read the manual. A and start together is ending a level. Pressing the C button 2 times on the explosion icon is self-destructing all the lemmings, while A and start does exactly the same. That last thing that could have easily been solved by a menu that asks if you really want to destruct all lemmings. And why is there a pause icon? Yes, those footsteps, when the start button has the same function. I don't like to read manuals, but I have to pop it out every time when I play the game, because I don't remember the control scheme, because I didn't play it for a couple of months. I like how they translated the game to the console, and despite the earlier mentioned items, I think it's a good game. The replay value is pretty good when it comes to puzzle solving. If you come back to the game, you don't remember the solutions of the puzzles, but remember the levels, and that makes that nostalgia factor really big. Because you can relive the moment again and get that adrenaline rush when you solve a puzzle. I like the variety of puzzles and the variety of levels, but the difficulty level is all over the place. I like also the animations of the lemmings, although they're really small. The music of the game is annoying. It's not super bad, but it annoys me after a while. Luckily you can switch it off. The amount of slowdown in the game is tremendous because of the amount of lemmings on the screen. Well, not really well designed. The game value is great and the game itself is massive. 180 levels are in the game. Why people never mention the game I don't know, because it's a good game. Maybe it's because it was sold for every system around at the time.
Do you like these kinds of videos? I'd like to do more of them. Let me know in the comments below. If you like the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'd love to see you in my next video. Bye!